Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, Brian Cashman Strikes, sending Camilo Doval and Jake Bird packing, and then pulling off a big 5-player trade to Wrigley and Luis Garcia Jr., the Washington Nationals power hitting first baseman / DH, who definitely, going to add some much needed punch to this kind of lifeless Yankee lineup, which at least won 2 out of 3 games at Wrigley Field amidst there, but of course only scoring 2 runs. So we'll break down both deals, both the Doval deal to send him to Pittsburgh, as well as the deal to bring in Luis Garcia here to the Bronx. And of course we'll look back quickly during the 2 out of 3 games the Yankees take against the White Sox, and kind of look back at this whole Chicago trip. Yankees doing Chicago style there, where they have to settle for 4 out of 7, where really Yankees should have won 6 out of these 7 games there, which is kind of annoying, but nevertheless, we'll look at the whole thing. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Again, Brian Cashman probably going to make a few moves there, so you want to get some reactions, whether here or on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure you're subscribed here, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, wherever you get your favorite podcast. There's also the YouTube version of the show. Not sure, I might do a little sprinkling here, might do a big whole wrap-up once the trade deadline ends for the Yankees on the YouTube channel, but nevertheless, you want to subscribe both. Don't miss a beat. So getting back, we'll start going on timeline here. So we'll start on Saturday, where the news came down that the Yankees traded Camilo Doval to the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's Doval and cash considerations for Omar Alfonso, a catching prospect who's 22 years old, ranked number 17 in the Pittsburgh organization. At this point, played 60 games in AA to a batting average of .239. Now look, these guys, you never know what they're going to turn out to be, but nevertheless, along with him, outfielder Luis Cruz, only 18 years old, who's right now in rookie ball. Again, their numbers really don't matter because you don't know how any of these guys are going to pan out. And Doval, the writing was on the wall. Now, I got to say, the third game against the Chicago White Sox really wasn't his fault. But you can see how low he'd been really put on the Yankee pecking order. They pretty much took him out of all the high leverage situations. But getting back to the third game against the White Sox, he actually pitched really well in that game. Got a lot of much needed ground balls with the infield pulled in, and the Yankees almost pulled off the miracle there, getting out of a jam. They almost preserving a 5-4 win in extra innings there with a guy on third base and only 1 out. Made a good throw to first base to at least get that first out there, and then getting a much needed ground ball to get a second out. And all the Yankees had to do is just play back and get that final out, and you would have had a really thrilling 5-4 win. Again, that's a game the Yankees blew with Cam Schlittler pitched great, had a 4-0 lead. Obviously, Paul Blackburn having just one blemish. He's been good. I can't really kill Blackburn, and overall he's been good. But Boone kind of forced to stick with him a little bit longer than he wanted to because Bednar had pitched the 2 games before that, and he had reason. He had pitched the 2 games before that. His Volpe had that easy pop-up he dropped, which forced Bednar to come into a game he really shouldn't have come into. Had to throw some extra pitches, and that took Bednar out of commission for the game 3 there. So you were forced to stick with someone like Blackburn long they have to, so not get off that whole train there. But nevertheless, Ali making the stupid throw to third base, which tied up the game 5-5, and the Yankees ended up losing 6-5 there. But Doval wasn't his fault in that game. But going back to this, up to this point, Doval, a big disappointment for the Yankees, pitching to a 4.54 ERA in 39 2/3 inning. That's actually pretty good. It was ballooned. It was like around 12 earlier on in the season there. And it's just been a disappointment. We saw he came over last year, had a little bit of promise there, a little up and down a little bit. Made a few appearances in the postseason, was okay, but you really had high hopes for him coming. Figure, all right, he got all that under his belt there. Now he's coming in fresh and pitched rather well in the World Baseball Classic. Even the final game against the Dominican Republic against the USA, came out and struck out the side there, throwing almost near triple digits. And you figure, wow, the Yankees are getting this guy. And also looked good in spring and looked good that opening weekend out there in San Francisco. But then since then, it's just been a plunge there. A lot of inconsistencies. Can't throw strikes when he wants to. I remember one game he was giving up a big grand slam, just giving up big hits there. And you couldn't really use him anymore in the high leverage situations. And you saw how his stock has dropped, where the Yankees were bringing him out. Basically, that's the kind of reason why he was out in that extra inning game against Chicago there, because they were almost stuck to use him because Bednar was not available. Other guys weren't available. It's like, all right, let's throw out Doval there. It was kind of pitching the meaningless innings for the most part there. So you could see the writing was on the wall that his welcome was worn out there. So Cashman, who he was going to bring in some bullpen arms anyway, needs to clear up the roster. At this point, Doval's a veteran where he's not going to take a minor league assignment or like that. So the best thing to do is just ship him out, and you're probably going to have to pay a few bucks for someone to take him. That's what kind of the Yankees did. So sending Doval and cash to Pittsburgh, where maybe that's an easier situation for him, where it's less pressure and it's a new vibe, and see what happens from there. And it's unfortunate to work out. He had the stuff. He always had the stuff, and he's throwing that nasty sinker at triple digits. But you can see this wasn't going to work out here. There's too many struggles. But then moving on to the better news, the day after the Sunday finale, we hear that at Wrigley that the Yankees landed Luis Garcia Jr., who we didn't hear any rumors about that, and I was a little surprised myself. But Luis Garcia coming to the Yankees. Now, the Yankees sending out Jake Bird, who, again, another failure from last year's trade deadline. Again, Yankees, guess 1 out of 3 worked, bringing in Bednar, bringing in Doval, and bringing in Bird. Unfortunately, Bednar turned out pretty rosy there. So that 1 worked, the 2 didn't. What are you going to do there? But using him in this package, so packaging Bird with Giovanni Cruz, and Cruz has looked good in some flashes, and a lot of Yankee fans are clamoring for him to get some more playing time, get some more opportunities, but has some talent there. But look, if you want to bring in talent, you have to give talent. That's just the way it is. So sending Cruz, Bird, Jack Siebert, who was ranked as the Yankees' number 14 prospect, and last but not least, Ben Grable, we heard a little bit about back in spring, ranked as the Yankees' number 25th prospect. So sending those 4 players to the Washington Nationals, and coming to the Bronx is native New Yorker Luis Garcia Jr., 26 years old, in his 7th season in the majors, and he's having a bit of a career year, breakout year right now, hitting 283, which is, for any, that's probably 80 points higher than any Yankee right now, hitting 283, OPS crushing it at 873, 23 home runs, 76 RBIs, and you think, well, is this kind of a fluky season? Not exactly. The year before that, hit 18 home runs, and then the season before that, hitting 16 home runs. So going from 16 to 18 to now up to 23, and obviously we still have August and September left. Maybe gets near 30. So you can see he's on the rise, and contract-wise, this is a smart moves for the Yankees. Obviously, he's under control for the rest of this season. Arbitration eligible for the beginning of 2027 season, so he's under team control. Obviously, he's going to get a major pay raise just because he's putting up good numbers, but he will be under relative team control, and he's not a free agent until the 2028 season. So this is a move not only for the rest of this season, but next year as well. As you would figure, the Yankees are probably going to cut ties with Paul Goldschmidt, probably his final season in a Yankee uniform. Obviously, the Yankees have a much better situation with both Garcia and Ben Rice there at first base, and that's his position, is first base. The Yankees' plan is to have him play first base and DH, and now the Yankees could flip-flop a little bit, especially against a right-handed pitcher. You would have both Garcia and Ben Rice in the lineup, and maybe some games Ben Rice is the first baseman and Garcia is the DH, and then you flip-flop. Maybe that's depending on numbers, stuff like that. Maybe Garcia is your DH and Ben Rice plays first base, at least against right-handed pitching, and depending on matchups too. Maybe Garcia is good against some lefties there, where normally you would think to start Paul Goldschmidt, maybe start Garcia instead. Again, Yankees now have some options, and not that I'm saying it's going to happen, but it could happen now. What you could do is load up the lineup a little bit, as we saw last season, Aaron Boone using Ben Rice as a catcher. Well, now you can consider having Garcia as the first baseman and Ben Rice catching behind the dish there to have a loaded up lineup where, we know the offensive struggles of Austin Wells. Well, you can instantly upgrade at least the offensive part of the lineup by having Ben Rice play catcher and Garcia at first base. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, I just think the Yankees value and understand Wells is a better defensive catcher than Ben Rice. And overall, again, Ben Rice hasn't played much catching. And early on in the season, when people were talking about that, I said, no way. Ben Rice was off to a good start of the season, where I say, do not put him behind the plate under any circumstances. Well, now it's a little different. Now you have a little bit more slack with Garcia, who can play first base. So that kind of makes Ben Rice a little bit more flexible, again, a little bit more expendable to try, if you wanted to experiment out a little bit with that in late August, September. Again, I don't expect that to happen, but something you could tinker with if you want to consider that, but I just don't see it happen, but it's worth throwing out there. Now, you might look at Garcia's baseball card, at least look at baseball reference, and say, wait, he's also listed as a second baseman and shortstop. That was back in his early seasons, back in like 2021, 2022. The Yankees aren't going to do that. I understand and say, well, the Yankees have a shortstop problem. Just play Garcia at shortstop. Great. A guy hitting 283 and 23 home runs at shortstop. That'd be great. This is not going to happen. I mean, he hasn't played the position in a number of years, and you're not going to play a guy who's with the Nationals in recent years, has only been playing first base. You're not going to move him back to shortstop and ask him to jump and have range and go back and forth, maybe tweak something and do something he hasn't normally been doing the past season. So if you're thinking that, forget about it. It's not going to happen. He's pretty much going to be relegated to either first base or a DH. So the Yankees this weekend, they needed the offense, only scoring 2 runs each of the games at Wrigley Field. Now, ironically, even doing that, have won 2 out of 3 there, getting strong pitching from Will Warren, who really needed a good start. Kind of been highlighting him more on the YouTube show. Again, he's been struggling lately there, but a strong start for Garrett Cole. You see Garrett Cole's really starting to turn it on a little bit there, so hopefully this means he's going on a bit of a run, which the Yankees could use right now. Again, Cam Schlitt was kind of the man for most of the part, at least in the starting rotation up to this point. Good to see maybe someone like Garrett Cole step in a little bit, maybe kind of take back that ace role and get on a good roll, as the Yankees head into the postseason. But the offense, obviously, even in some of the Chicago games, really sputtering to score runs, even the final game where Boone had to blow his top, but they really got no better in Wrigley Field. But, the Yankees are going to have to do this the way they've been doing this, is with the strong starting pitching. I said it before, but it does help to bring Garcia in there to add a little bit of punch to this lineup. I don't think it's going to turn them to world busters where they're not going to be scoring 7-8 runs a game, but again, every little bit helps. And you got a little credit to Spencer Jones. On the most recent YouTube episode, I kind of mentioned that, he's getting his third opportunity this season, and the first two were little sprinkles of what could be there, but he's seen a lot of disappointment there, a lot of strikeouts there. Well, this past week there, turning it on, having a home run against the White Sox, and then hitting home runs in two of the games this weekend at Wrigley. The Friday game, hitting his first career home run off a lefty. The Saturday game, now the game they lost there, but at least putting a home run, opposite field home run at Wrigley Field. So Ben Rice with 3 home runs this week. So not saying that's the start of things that come there, but again, it would certainly be welcome there. Again, some guys got to step in there until some of the big guys come back to this lineup. And also around baseball, just checking around there. Of course, the Mets have been unloading some players. They're going to be sellers. A couple of guys out of the bullpen they moved, but again, it's something that might be relevant for the Yankees. Trading Freddie Peralta to the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a team the Yankees are chasing right now in the AL East. And Peralta's a pretty a decent pitcher there. Obviously, been a little bit of disappointment with the Mets. I can't totally blame him. Again, has a lot of poor defense behind him, and it's got to be miserable pitching for the Mets there. So I'm sure he'll be happy to just get out of there and be a team right now like the Rays, who one way or another probably headed for the postseason there. So again, that's someone the Yankees are going to contend with. And of course, the big name going around, and that's Skubal getting traded to the Dodgers. I really don't think this is a big deal. I know everyone's going crazy about the rich getting richer and the Dodgers with all the money they got, and this is ruining baseball and stuff. The Dodgers are so loaded, I really don't think it makes a difference. I understand they're a little thin in some areas because Ohtani's probably not going to be a starting pitcher for the rest of the season. Hasn't been, I don't know, like super official yet, but you figure with the knee problems and having his knee drained a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if they want to mess around with that and having pitcher off the mound. So I think for the rest of the season, they'd rather him just be a hitter, and that's probably where he's most valuable for the team there. No risk sending him on the mound where, again, they're loaded as it is with starting pitching. Why risk hurting Ohtani and the $70 million a year he's paying, even though, that's all paid on the back end. But nevertheless, so you can say, well, maybe they want to get Skubal. So what difference does it make? They're going to go probably to the World Series one way or another. So whether Skubal's in there or not, I don't think it makes a big deal. Now, you hear that the Yankees were supposedly involved in this along with the Milwaukee Brewers, but I don't think the Yankees were seriously involved in, because I don't think they need started pitching. Just look at this whole week in Chicago. Really, overall, the starting pitching was fabulous the whole way, all of them. Will Warren, Ryan Weathers, Max Fried, Cole, Schlittler, they were all fabulous. It's just the problem is the offense is terrible. Scoring 1 run in the final game, scoring 2 runs each in all the 3 games at Wrigley Field. And Wrigley Field's kind of a hitter's ballpark. The Yankees really should have teed off there. They didn't. So it's the offense been the problem, not the starting pitching. So there's no reason to trade for Skubal, who's right now, this is a 2-month rental. You're going to have to give a boatload, and supposedly the word is from the Yankees, Tigers wanted 2 what they call starting players, 2 position players, at least on the active players right now there. So I don't think the Yankees were looking to give like Dominguez and Jones. Some Yankee fans may say they were disappointment there, but you give them 2 potentially really good players who they bust out for a 2-month rental, and then Skubal goes to free agency there. So I don't think the Yankees were seriously in on him, and Yankees don't need him. Again, starting pitching's been fine, and Skubal, okay, he's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and they'll say it would be terrible if he got him, but he's about a 5 or 6 inning pitcher the most. He doesn't go that long, and you see the way these games, once you get to the postseason, the way it is anyways. They only ask these guys to barely go 4 or 5 innings, and then it's a bullpen game after that there. So everyone's going crazy over it. I really don't think it makes a difference one way or another. And also around baseball, the Chicago White Sox landing Luis Castillo, who a starter from the Mariners, or the Yankees could never touch that guy. So that could be something that the Yankees have to contend with. Good possibility. The White Sox having a good season along with the Cubs, and should be an interesting postseason for the Windy City. But getting back to the Yankees and White Sox, would do somehow, some way end up locking up in the postseason, the Yankees would have to contend with Luis Castillo. And again, the Yankees traditionally has struggled with them during back to Italy games, whether it was with the Cincinnati Reds or in more recent years with the Mariners. Yankees struggle against Castillo there, so it's something the Yankees have to keep in mind if those 2 teams lock up in the postseason. But overall, a couple good moves by Cashman. Again, emptying out the bullpen. We'll see what happens when it's all said and done. I think Cashman, if anything, I don't see him being in a position play. I just think they bank it on the fact that Bellinger comes back at some point, Judge comes back at some point, and hold your breath at some point. Maybe it takes like the last week of September. Stanton comes back there. So I don't know what's out there for position players right now. The easy move would be getting a great hitting shortstop. I just don't think that move is going to happen. I just think it's going to be Caballero, Volpe the rest of the way there. And then, again, once you get into the postseason, maybe they lean in with Caballero more than Volpe. But that would be the only position move possibly. But I just don't think that move's out there. I'm a little surprised by the Garcia move because, they didn't really need a power hitting first baseman. They could definitely use offense, so I'll certainly welcome the move. But, it's just going to get a little interesting if you have Garcia back and then Even somehow Stanton gets back, what do you do? I mean, that's a good problem to have. I'll take the problem there, but wasn't really expecting the Garcia move. But again, at this point, the Yankees need some offense because right now we just don't know what's the big three. Bellinger, Stanton, and Judge are going to be back there, so I'll certainly take the move. So good move by Cashman, positive move. Yankees not giving too much. And, Michael K made a good point a couple of days ago, if you're listening to him, that all these years Cashman's been in here, and if fans want to complain he's been here too long, Cashman has never really once been burned on a trade. I mean, he's never given up someone who's turned into like Jay Buhner. If you want to go back to the old Ken Phelps, Jay Buhner, Seinfeld joke, I guess that was in the early 90s there. With the Yankees, traded Buhner, and Buhner became like a 40 home run, 100 RBI guy for the Seattle Mariners. The Yankees, at least Brian Cashman, has never really had that situation where he's given up someone and they turn out to be big. So, I want to go crazy. Again, I'm sure Cashman's given up guys where he knows they could be good, but I think if he was really high on someone, he would, kept them. Now, has the Yankees produced a ton of great players out of their farm system? No, but the Yankees never really traded someone where they really turned out to be a great player. I mean, you want to look at someone like Mark Melancon, who the Yankees ended up trading to Boston. He was a reliever for them. Then he went to Pittsburgh for a number of years, was their closer. Okay, but I wouldn't call him like great. He turned out to be a pretty good, darn good major league player, but nothing that you'll kick yourself in the pants like, oh, how did we give up this guy? So Cashman has been pretty crafty of this, not giving away the gold, and so to speak there. So Cashman wants to hold on to someone. I'll take it as good news. And if Cashman lets someone away, he has the track record that he's not going to let someone go that turns out to bite you in the backside and you end up regretting the trade. So, good moves by Cashman. If there's going to be moves made, I say it's going to be an arm or two for the bullpen. Try to, just to add some firepower there. Starting rotation looks good. And I think in terms of the position players, they're just going to hold the fort down as they can, hope the big guys get back, and do it as they did in Chicago this week. Just rely on the strong starting pitching, which has been great. And, down the road, you do get some relief, maybe something like a Clark Schmidt. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but that is a weapon coming in at some point. The Yankees could probably look at whether that's late October or September. So Cashman making the initial moves, laying the groundwork, clearing out the bullpen. So I would expect some bullpen moves when it's all said and done there. So make sure you keep tuned in here to the audio podcast of Section 420 Talkin Yankees. We'll get some reactions here. Make sure you also subscribe. Maybe do the big birthday party overall once all the moves are made afterwards. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, and we'll catch you next time.